And welcome to another edition of the New Sports Outlaws podcast. As always, I am Neil, and this is Dan. Dan, we have some reaction to talk about in regards to the Super Bowl. We are going to talk some basketball. We'll touch in on the baseball news about the report to training camp, and anything else that's on our mind. How are you this week?
Doing good, doing good. Yeah, I think we'll talk about a Super Bowl, which I really don't think anybody really saw a game like that was going to happen. I mean, on either side. But yeah, we can talk about it. Let's go wherever you want to start.
To apologize in advance. I am recently recovering from COVID, so hopefully I will be able to hold this through for our weekly podcast. I watched the Super Bowl in quarantine, so by myself with my snacks. I know that I hate the Philadelphia Eagles. I get it, and maybe that was a little bit of my blinders. But even if you didn't have any blinders on, even the staunchest of Philadelphia Eagles fans, I don't think would have told you we're going to blow out Mahomes and the two-time champs. And it wasn't a game. Like we both agreed the week before the Super Bowl, it was a game that the Philadelphia line absolutely owned the Kansas City offensive line, and Mahomes was befuddled, to say the least.
Yeah, I remember us talking about last week how it was possible for Jalen Carter and the rest of that line. They could be game wreckers. I remember you using that word, game wreckers. And like we knew like it could be possible, but I didn't think we think it would be to this degree the way like how Tampa dominated KC that three years ago, I guess now. Um when that Super Bowl happened. And I think it almost might have been, I mean, maybe it's a little bit of recency bias, but I think it might have even been worse around this time for KC. Because it seemed like, so I remember that first play of the game they got a first down. It was to, I want to say, Juju Smith Schuster. It was like an 11-yard pass. And I think that was their only first down in that first half. And it was, they dominated that game. Mahomes looked terrible. Looked like he had happy feet. Kind of looked like the Sam Darnold seeing ghosts kind of thing. And I mean, when a team doesn't blitz one time, Philly did not have a called blitz one time, and they pressured him like they did when you're able to send seven back there all the time and just rush four, you have a good chance. And then it looked like, and then Jalen Hurts and the offense looked really good. I know. I think we all thought that if the Eagles had to win, it was their defense and it was Saquon Barkley. It wasn't Saquon Barkley at all. Jalen Hurts, however much I talk crap about him, the last 2 weeks of the year, the conference championship against the Commanders and the Super Bowl against the Chiefs, he looked like a really, really, really MVP level quarterback, and I give him props for that.
I mean, even when I used to defend Hurts, and it was just because I drafted him in fantasy and I wanted to prove you guys wrong. He, at his best, has been a solid to really good quarterback. I mean, at his worst, he has his detractors. I mean, that's why he had all that movement in college.
Yeah.
So, I mean, as far as Barkley goes, I am proud to say that my friends who are Giant fans were talking all this smack about how Barkley was going to own the Super Bowl, and I was like, hey, he's going to get 68 yards and no TDs. And I was close to right. It was 57 yards and no TDs. But, I mean, if you would have told me that I was right, I would have thought also that Kansas City won the game. If you had told me Barkley's going to have under 100 and no TDs, I'd be like, Kansas City's killing. But that being said, somebody I'd like to give props to is Nick Fangio. We've said this before, and I like Spagnuolo, the opposite defensive coordinator too. Sometimes some coaches are just best as coordinators. Guys like Spagnuolo, who had a tough game, but the Philadelphia offense had the ball way too much to really hold that against him. And Nick Fangio, they make better coordinators than they do coaches. They're innovative and great coordinators, just not very good head coaches. So I wanted to point that out.
Yeah, I think those two coordinators that you just brought up, that's a prime example of they were head coaches at one time. Spagnuolo was a head coach for like a year. Vic Fangio was for like a year or two with Denver, I believe.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, no, they didn't. It wasn't their thing, and sometimes it's not their thing. They rather just worry about the defense, and that's it. And that's
Yeah.
okay. It doesn't mean like I think Andy Reid's really lucky because he knows Spagnuolo's not going to go anywhere for a head coaching job. I think Spagnuolo's kind of settled in his spot, and he's never going to be. It's not going to be one of those coordinators like Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn. Oh, they're head coaches now, and now Dan Campbell's got to go somewhere else. As long as Spagnuolo wants to at least stay around, Andy Reid's always going to have him as their defensive coordinator, and Andy Reid can always be offensive coordinator, head coach, whatever you want to be. So they got obviously a great thing going there. But yeah, give him a lot of props. He did put a game plan together. Mahomes looked rattled. Everybody looked rattled. Kelsey looked old.
Yeah.
It was their day. It was definitely their day.
All right, so we covered the football aspect of the Super Bowl, but Super Bowl is more pomp and circumstance, some people will say, than actual football. So some of the things that were not technically football, but football adjacent. We were both off on our Taylor Swift predictions because Kelsey was non-existent. The Kansas City offense in general was non-existent. So we didn't see Taylor as much as we thought we would. And the other two non-football topics I wanted to touch on were I thought the commercials and movie trailers, and I love movies and I love comic book movies. I thought they were, very uninspired. I didn't see any commercials like that was a funny, what commercial, or I can't wait to see that movie. So there really was nothing that really like dropped me off my seat. And as far as the halftime show goes, I mean, it was okay. I don't have a big problem with it. I don't think it was that great, but in all, as they were talking the next couple of days on WFAN and other places, a lot of the halftime shows have sucked for years. Go through the last 20 years, you can count on one hand how many you can say were probably, they were good halftime shows. So you don't usually get a good one.
Yeah, with the commercials, just to touch on the commercials, when I was younger, always remembered like when the commercials you would always see them the next day on like ESPN or Sports Center. Like as the best commercials, like, oh, I remember that and it's hilarious or whatever. I don't get the same feel. I don't know if it's just me getting older. I've watched them. I didn't really like whatever. It's not good, bad, whatever. The halftime show. So I was thinking about obviously there was a lot of people. There were some people that liked it, and it seemed like the majority didn't like it. And I was thinking of the past performers like the Eminems, like the Rihannas, like the Bruno Mars, like the Beyoncés. They, I'll go especially with Eminem really. And so Eminem has like his two different types of music. He has his hardcore rap music, but then he has songs that everybody knows. He has the Lose Yourself song. He has a bunch of other songs that everybody knows that you hear in a club or you hear at a bar or whatever. At least I don't know if I'm wrong. I obviously Kendrick Lamar is famous. He just won a Grammy, I think I want to say, or something for something he just did. And at least maybe it's just me, but other than that, not like a song that was played, he doesn't. I don't think maybe the majority of the people really know his music. And maybe that's just me being, not around the scene or whatever. How I grew up or whatever. But I think his music was just not for a halftime show. He's amazing at what he does. He's obviously very well successful. I just don't think, at least again, maybe it's the scenery, but it wasn't for me. I don't think for you either. But
Yeah, I think we're in the same boat. I mean, like I said, it was whatever with him. I mean, I remember a bunch of them I haven't liked recently. And the last thing I will say, as far as like not really about the game itself. I have a question to pose to you. If it's not the Eagles again, and you can't say Lions, is there any other team you think has, at least while we're sitting here today, before we see the draft, before we see free agency, what's that third team? Because I think we could all say the Lions and Philly are probably it in the NFC. Is there another team in the NFC you think you could see taking that big step next year to challenge?
if the Commanders get Miles Garrett, It seems like obviously the Commanders have to take advantage of Jaden Daniels being on that rookie contract. Because he's on the rookie contract, they have to make sure to shore up that defense. Maybe get a Myles Garrett, something like that, to kind of get their defense going. They'll add a little more, probably on the receiving side. Terry McLaurin's kind of getting up there in age a little bit. Maybe need another weapon over there. But I think I obviously we wouldn't have said this at the beginning of last year, but I think the Commanders are definitely that third team. No.
Yeah. Yep. I think it'd be interesting to see what we get from San Francisco, because I think last year at this time we all would have said, well, San Francisco's in that mix. And I don't think we think about that this year because of how
Depends
devastated
on
they
what they do with
were.
Purdy. Depends on what
Yeah.
they do with Purdy.
And how devastated they were injury wise on offense and defense.
Yeah.
Do they come back to
Shanahan's still a
relevancy?
quality coach. It could,
Yeah.
McCaffrey. They still got weapons. They'll still be okay.
So I have a legitimate second question proposal to you. Kind of related to football. When am I allowed to start talking about fantasy football on the podcast?
Well, I'm waiting for the text to come through that you want to say mock question mark. I'm waiting for that text to come through so that we can you sending the link for the Yahoo Fantasy League. I'm surprised you haven't made it yet. I'm surprised. I know. I feel like so you do the draft order and everything. I feel like it goes a little earlier and earlier every single year. Like I think it used to be like the first week in July you used to do it. I think you did it in June. I think this
Yep.
past year. I
Yep.
think it's getting a little earlier and
Yep.
earlier
The
every
last
year.
couple of
But
years,
no, Super
it's
Bowl's
been.
over. Super Bowl's
Yep.
over. It's
I start looking.
never too early.
I'll be perfectly honest with you. There's days as a teacher. There's days in June when I'm on my prep, and I'm like bored. It's June. I'll do a mock football draft. Why not? Uh, so yeah, I get started pretty early. But I mean, they send the magazines out. I tell you, God's honest truth. I still get the magazines. I know it's just traditional. I get it. Usually when I go away, I usually go away for like a couple of days at the end of school. And usually before July 1st, the magazines are already out. So I'm not the only one that's that crazy.
Well,
So
since we don't win, I think we kind of look forward to it sooner and sooner every year to maybe that hopefully one year.
the most fun thing about it is the prep work. So
It's the best part of the year because we don't enjoy our year.
there's no anxiety. There's not as much anxiety or failure during the prep work. I just have the worst luck in the playoffs. I can't buy myself a big victory, especially when it comes to needing a victory in those last 2 weeks. Speaking of victories, the New York Knicks got a good victory last night. They're on their way to a victory right now. I don't want to put my horse before the cart before the horse, but they are at least handling the Hawks as we speak. Let me give you my quick opinion, and then I want you to take off on what you think from this week and what you think from the Knicks in general. My opinion is, and I said this before pretty much on the podcast, they are small against the best teams, and then they are beasts against the middle of the pack and the shit'ems. Cat feasts on teams that don't have a big man to stop him, and the Knicks look different when Cat looks good.
Yeah, no, it seems like against the teams that are even mid or bad, you guys are dominating them. And it seems like whether yesterday was a really good sign because Jalen Brunson was in foul trouble, and I think he only had like 11 points in the game, and it was Josh Hart and Cat that carried the day. Bridges did nothing also, and yeah, it's just you guys know you're a top 5 team in the league, and you're going to be judged by the Celtics, the Thunder, the Cavs. I don't know who else. I know the Timberwolves beat you guys back about a month ago or something like that. But every time you're gonna be judged against those 4 or 5 teams. Those are really the only regular season games that sort of matter for you guys. I think you pretty much. I haven't looked at the standings, but I'm pretty sure there's a pretty good discrepancy between the 3. You guys are still a 3 seed, and the 4, and the
Yeah.
4. Who is the 4 seed? Do you even I don't even know who the 4 seed is?
It was the Magic for a while. Now I think it's the Pacers. I think it's the Pacers now.
Okay, so and I know you have some games in between them. So I think we can agree that you guys are one the top three seeds, and it's just going to matter when it comes to playoff time that you guys hopefully should squash the first round, and that's the second round is kind of like your mountain that you have to climb over. And I think every team against the bad teams will dominate, and against the not so bad team, the good teams, maybe you struggle against.
Yeah, and to what you said, they have not given anybody, even the most optimistic of Knicks fans, any reason to think they are going to make that step up. Now, it's going to be different in the playoffs. Could they still beat the Celtics in a 7-game series or the Cavs? Uh, they could, but
If they you need OG, if OG play, OG's got to play.
OG, and then what, and this is the last question I have for you with the Knicks, is what does Mitch really change? I mean, I look at Mitch and I think he changes something because I think it allows Cat not to have to play so big. He can be a soft stretch four as opposed to a stretch five. But I don't know. What do you think?
He's going to be really good against Joel Embiid. If you play Philadelphia, he seems to be. He looked. I know they were both injured in that series last year, but he was dominant. He was on the defensive end, and when the Knicks were on defense, he was dominating Joel Embiid. He can stop Joel Embiid. I'm telling you, right? He can. He's really good defensively. But when you with the Celtics, where they have all stretch five guys, Al Horford, the cat. Well, it might go well against with the Cavs because they have two bigs. So they have Evan Mobley and Jared Allen. So it would definitely help with Cat and Mitch down there, even though Evan Mobley can shoot a little bit. I just don't see how we can. I know I heard March 1st. I just don't see how you can count on him to play decent minutes in the playoffs. Even if he comes back March 1st, he's got to get his stuff in shape. I
Well,
don't know how you can count.
whether he's ready or not, they're counting on him because they didn't make any other trades at the
We don't have a
deadline.
choice.
Yep, they're counting on him to be a body. Um, speaking of bodies, my best comment about your Brooklyn Nets are that they have good depth. They have good bodies on their team, and they have a good coach. They've won 6 in a row, and
No, no, no.
if my math serves me right, they're almost like 3 out of a play-in spot.
All right, so we've won 5 out of 6. We lost the Wizards for whatever reason. Um, I I don't know. It's yeah, we have our coach. That's all I'm gonna say. We're playing well. We're taking advantage of teams that have had some injuries. LaMelo Ball was injured when we played them. We had Fred VanVleet against the Rockets when we played them twice. Um, right now we're playing Philadelphia. They're not playing Embiid or Maxey. So I mean we're taking advantage. We're up by 8 right now. Um, yeah, we're 2 games out of a playing spot. Obviously we're not tanking. So I mean we still have Cam Thomas that's just on the bench that's just going to come back eventually. I don't know what to say. We're playing really well. We have our coach. That's all I'm going to say. And I love our coach, and I trust him for wherever we get in the draft. I'm done with the
Yep,
tanking.
yep. I busted your chops, but I mean, it's tough. You know, we as fans root for the generational talent for the teams to lose, but we know, even out of as we say that out of our mouths, we know the team's not going in there and tanking. The players want to win. The players that are on the team want to get
I,
contracts, whether it be from this team or other teams. So we know they're
I,
not purposely
I
trying
think
to.
we went into the year wanting to tank, not wanting to tank, thinking that we were just going to be god awful. And we're just not. Whatever our coaching staff is doing, it's obviously working. And
Yeah,
we've already beat our win total. We're already at the 19 wins. So, cha-ching for the preview of our win total. That's one of the earliest win total success ever in NBA history. But yeah, that's
yep. Um, a question, and I don't know if you'd be down for this, but I know that we don't really talk college basketball, but I know you and I love the NCAA tournament. I mean, when we were younger at Sports Authority, and you would take off a day here or there, and you used to go to the a adult establishment and watch all the screens. I think you went with Lou that one time. where you like went there for hours and watched the games. It's a fun time. I usually start researching it around the beginning of March anyway, and start following people who talk about bracketology and stuff. So I'd like us to do maybe a competition for the podcast where we both post our brackets and we see
Yeah,
who
that's
has the most points and stuff like that. Yeah.
yeah, we can. Yeah, of course we could do that. I mean, that's great. It'd be fun. Yeah, of course.
And then, so the last topic we'll touch this week, then let's talk a little bit about baseball. Let's do a check in because spring training is upon us, and it always gets everyone hopeful, especially baseball fans looking toward the better weather and baseball season. Um, the Yankees are still out there, and the rumors that I've heard the last couple of days is that maybe they're waiting out the market. Maybe they saying they like the internal options at third base, but if the Cardinals pick up all of Nolan Arenado's salary, maybe they bring him in. So what do you think?
Um, from the Cardinals' perspective, considering all the news that they've put out there that they pretty much don't want Arenado on their team, it seems like the Yankees are, like you said, waiting it out. It doesn't really seem like the Yankees have too much competition in terms of like Arenado suitors. It seems like it's mainly the Yankees, and that's it. So there is still some time left. It is still it's mid February. Still got about a month and a half left. It's a lot different for hitters than pitchers than that whole Blake Snell thing last year. But a couple questions for you. So I had some couple Yankee questions for you. One, yeah, roster related, opening day related. One, more Yankee related, but I'll let you know. First one, who do you think, and I heard this earlier, who do you think should be our leadoff hitter?
I was gonna ask you that
Yankee
too.
leadoff hitter.
Uh, who do I want to see be leadoff hitter? I want to see Anthony Volpe grab it. I don't want them to give it to him and just hand it over to him, but I want him to show in spring training. Hey, I know a lot of the fan base has been saying I should be the leadoff hitter. I have the attributes to do so if I can get on base more, and I want to see him in spring training kind of take that role. Do I think it's gonna happen? I'm not sure, but I'd like to see that happen.
Yeah, I kind of agree. Yeah, I still want them to give up. I still think that's should be his goal, at least to be able to hit enough to get to lead off. I hope they don't just give up on it because he got off to a really good start last year. I remember last year he got off to a great start and then he just kind of fell off the face of the earth. But I think you go to a lot of guys. I still think Dominguez can do it. But we have plenty of time to talk about that. And the non kind of baseball related one. Oh, it's baseball, but it's more Yankee. So on social media today, there was plenty of pictures of our new relief pitcher, Devin Williams, that was going around on social media. Okay, and I think I think you kind of know my question. So obviously, as a Yankee, it seems like it's a rule for whatever that you need to be clean shaven as a New York Yankee. And obviously, Devin Williams had like a look or an aura when he was with Milwaukee last year, and now all of a sudden he just looks different. I want to know if you think that the clean shaven thing should still always be a thing, or if maybe the Yankees should go more
I,
modernized.
I I didn't think that that's where the question was going.
Okay.
Um, even though it's baseball related, and you said it was baseball related,
Yeah, I don't know how to say
I
it.
thought you were going to give me something like the Sean Marash, where I don't know if you heard the segment where they were badgering him to give his answer of who he appreciated more, Eli Manning or Igor Shesterkin, because he's such a big Giants and Ranger fan. I thought you were going to try to put me on the spot with two like Jerry Jeter or something like that.
No.
No, but as far as this question, uh, I think Pipsqueak like Evan Roberts should shut his mouth. He doesn't know what he's talking about. Well, Georgia's gonna roll in his grave. Listen, the Yankees are separated for a reason. There's no facial hair. I don't care what the New Times say. You want to sign with the Yankees, you shave your freaking face. You can have a mustache, you can have sideburns, but there better not be a beard. Listen, obviously, I have a beard, but if I played for the New York Yankees, I'd shade every inch of
It's
it.
coming off. It's coming off right away. All right, all right. I was just wondering. It seems like everyone that leaves the Yankees seems like Clay Holmes. He grew that beard out. Clay Holmes he's like, oh, thank God. He's like, I'm growing that beard out.
Yeah.
All right. I'm just wondering. Yeah, no.
Hopefully the beard reminds them how to pitch.
That's that's going to be a thing if he pitches well. Oh, he's good with the beard. You never know.
I'm just getting over getting sick, and you get my blood pressure up. No, but we are planning on doing some trivia, especially if I start feeling better, whether it's this week or next week. And we're having fun.
Yeah, we're gonna do some trivia. I know we haven't done that in a while. I do have some questions for Neil that I want to pose to him when we get to the trivia. So hopefully on Friday we can get the trivia up there. But yeah, so in a couple weeks we still got more spring training. We'll be done with football, so no more football.
Until the
So we
draft.
have, what?
Until the draft.
Until the draft
The
where we can talk
combine.
fantasy of the combine, or just next week, which is like free agency, or 2 weeks or something like that. So yeah, with basketball, we'll have March Madness, as Neil was saying, with some March Madness up there, and definitely a lot more basketball, baseball, that stuff coming up. So keep subscribing, liking on YouTube, X, Facebook, Instagram. All right, keep those followers getting up. So until next time, I'm Danny. This is Neil signing off.